Welcome to Rockmandash Reviews, and today we have a very interesting visual novel that is incredibly hard to describe. This is my review of the Muv-Luv Visual Novels, a series of Eroge Visual Novels made by Age and was translated by Amaterasu Translations. Muv-Luv is a series that defies expectations, manipulates emotions, and managed to inspire Attack on Titan. Yes, that Attack on Titan. Muv-Luv is a series of visual novels for the PC. Even though there are two visual novels in this series, Muv-Luv Extra and Muv-Luv Alternative, there are three arcs of this series that are very different from each other but are all very integral to the plot. The three arcs are Extra, Unlimited, and Alternative, and I'm going to be talking about them one at a time for the sake of convenience. Muv-Luv Extra is the first arc of the game, and it's your traditional dating sim. By traditional, I mean this is exactly what you would expect out of the genre. There's nothing here but a slice of life romantic comedy. It doesn't do anything special, it's pretty silly and forgettable, but it's not exactly horrible. I eventually got bored of it and skipped most of the second half, but I felt like I really didn't miss much. The one redeemable factor in Extra is that it develops the characters very well. You get to know how they act, what do they like, and you get used to this nice, peaceful world that is in Muv-Luv. Until Muv-Luv Unlimited throws the main character Takeru out of this nice and peaceful life into a universe of despair, an alternate world where aliens known as Beta invade the world, pushing humanity to the brink of extinction and leaving large parts of Eurasia uninhabitable. In Muv-Luv Unlimited, Takeru has to get used to the lives of a military cadet, with the threat of death looming upon him, and you are in for the ride. Unfortunately, Muv-Luv Unlimited has one huge flaw that keeps it from being something spectacular. Muv-Luv Unlimited is way too lighthearted. In every aspect of this game, everything is just a bit too lighthearted. From the atmosphere to the pacing to the writing in general, there's no sense of urgency, which is sad, because this game has some great ideas. But they make it feel so slice-of-life-esque that it ruins the game. The atmosphere is very important, and they didn't create the right one at all. It's kind of sad in a way. They have great ideas and a great world, they just didn't execute it well in this game. It isn't as engaging as you would want it to be because they make you feel like an outsider, and the pace is just slow. If Unlimited was wasted potential, Alternative is that potential unleashed to the world and made into something amazing. Alternative picks up right from the end of Unlimited at where Alternative V happens, but instead of Takeru dying, he comes back to where he was, at the very beginning of Unlimited. This time though, Takeru has the experience of events, and he tries to change these events so the world wouldn't be so screwed over. At the beginning, it's a game to spot the difference. Until the butterfly effect kicks in, and it kicks in hard where everything changes. You know how a few seconds ago I said I felt like an outsider in Unlimited? Well, this game takes that feeling and runs with it. It creates a bond between you and the main character, the only person who's been on this insane trip with you, and the only person you can relate to in this alternate universe. This emphasizes its unique and different world, and how they built up this world is absolutely fantastic. It's filled with the interesting politics of the world, interesting military stuff, interesting people with all sorts of problems, and an interesting society. The best part about this interesting world is how they go so in-depth about it, and any world building you would ever want is here. It's absolutely fantastic, and I wish that more games would do this. Plot-wise, Muv-Luv Alternative feels like Attack on Titan, but with good pacing and great character development. While Attack on Titan focuses on objectives and the deaths of your favorite characters, Muv-Luv focuses on all of it. Tactics, strategies, ideals, characters, pacing, dramas, even some pseudoscience. It's pretty much everything I would ever want out of this type of story, and it does it extremely well. Alternative impressed me because it integrated everything from the previous plots, making everything even mentioned important and relevant in some way, shape, or form, and it never leaves anything hanging loose. One thing that surprised me about Alternative is even though it has a slow pace, I really did enjoy the pacing. I believe it's because Alternative spent every bit of its time exploring the world and doing some of the best character development I've seen. And the most important part, keeping me engaged in this plot. The writing in this game is absolutely phenomenal, manipulating the player in ways they have not been manipulated before. If Jisenjo no Mao is a roller coaster of a plot, the Muv-Luv is a road trip, beautifully showing you the world at the pace you would want to go, getting you absorbed, and getting you attached. I wouldn't say that Alternative is the best story ever. It's not, in my opinion. It is, however, one of the best stories I have ever experienced. It does everything you would want in this setting, and it does it very well. It's hard to sum up Muv-Luv as a whole. It certainly takes its time to get good, but when it's good, it's really good. Even though it does have some bad parts, I believe that the better arcs overshadow the negative arcs, especially because of how well Alternate integrated the plot and blew me away. It's fantastic and amazing, but if you want to play through this game, you will have to go through quite a bit of not so amazing writing to get to the better parts of this game. For the most part, the characters are the same, but they do differ slightly in each arc, and they are just as fantastic in each. You follow the main character, Takeru Shirogane. At first, Takeru is your typical high school student with a carefree and kinda mean attitude. But as you go through the game, you see him develop into a meaningful character, one who understands others, and he becomes a mature person. He does an excellent job as the representative of the player, as he's the only character you can relate to. He's a great main character, and he's probably the character I've been most attached to in any medium ever. Because Muv-Luv starts out as a dating sim, there are plenty of heroines, but if I had to describe them, I would be going on and on about how amazing they are. All the characters are written absolutely fantastically, and they all have a reason for being there. They are all extremely fleshed out with interesting backstories, interesting personalities, etc. Because of your situation in Unlimited and Alternative, the game creates a feeling like you are in a squad. And to me, that's just icing on the cake. All the characters are written well, and they make the world feel real. And they are by far the best part of this series. Muv-Luv has its strengths and weaknesses, and it has a bad habit of starting out pretty weak but getting better the further you go along. The sound and visuals are absolutely no different. They both start pretty average at the beginning, but they do get better. At the beginning, the visuals have a 4:3 aspect ratio, and average but entertaining art, but the big problem with the visuals at the beginning is that they do not have enough art in general. With the sound, it's mostly average. Extra has nothing but generic and silly songs, and while Unlimited steps us up a notch with some fantastic songs, they are never really used too well, and it makes Unlimited feel like more wasted potential. Even with the knocks on the early art, the presentation of these games do their job, and they get out of the way for the characters and the world. Alternative does a little bit better in this aspect, and when you launch it up, be prepared for a slight quality bump. The big difference though is that Alternative has some niceties like 16:9 and some of the best English I have seen in a long time. As for the sound, some of the tracks are absolutely fantastic, and the timing of these great tracks is something to be admired. But a good majority of the soundtrack is just average. Alternative's presentation is nice because it takes care of all the small details, just like the plot. The game's presentation isn't perfect, but when it's bad, it's so hilariously bad that it never detracts from your experience. And overall, it's pretty nice. Also, the full motion videos have this nice 1980s charm to it, and I dig it. The character art, UI, voice acting, and aesthetics in general are pretty much the same throughout the games. In general, art is just average, and there's no getting around that. But you get used to it eventually, and you might actually like it. It never really hinders the experience, but it never shines. The voice actors are the same in all the games, and they do a pretty good job in all of them, so no complaints there. But one thing that might hinder your experience is my obligatory eroge warning here. This game has sexual content and you might not like this. This is an integral part of the plot and kinda appears everywhere. If you're not a fan, avoid this game. There are a few little things I want to say before I get into my personal thoughts on Muv-Luv, so I'll say them here. Muv-Luv made me realize how dependent I am on fan translations, as there were parts that weren't translated because of the engine, and I felt completely lost. Also, this game hates Windows 8, and it likes to crash at specific parts at the end of Extra and weird stuff like not displaying subtitles in videos. If you have a Windows 7 computer or older, try to play it on that, but if you don't, you have to do what I had to do to continue playing, which is downloading a save file online to get to Unlimited. Also, the English is absolutely fantastic, and it was one of my favorite parts of Alternative. It really helps add a bit more lightheartedness to a pretty bleak story, and it was very enjoyable. As for my personal thoughts of the game, I already did a whole opinion piece about my experience with Muv-Luv, so if you really want to know what I think about Muv-Luv, check that out. But if that's too long for you, I'll say it here. It's phenomenal, and I love it. I love Muv-Luv, but it does have its major flaws. It takes a long time to get good. It isn't the best aesthetically or sound-wise, but it is a prime example of why visual novels are one of the best ways of storytelling. There's an incredibly high barrier of entry, up there with the likes of Kara no Kyokai, but if you can get through the meh first half, through the darker parts, the sexual content, you will have one of the best experiences of storytelling that any medium has to offer. Overall, I give Muv-Luv a 9 out of 10 and a Rockmandash Remarkable.